Hi everyone, welcome to Bonnie Carolee Makes Cards. I have a couple of Halloween slimline cards featuring Simon Says Stamps Boo Day. The images in this stamp set are absolutely adorable, and it results in cards that are more cute than spooky. I started off thinking that I was going to make just one card, but then I die cut the background panel and ended up with these 3 circles and was inspired to make a second card. The background was created off camera using distress spray inks. I used Blueprint Sketch, Wilted Violet, and Mermaid Lagoon. This panel was die cut with Pink Fresh Studio Slim Braided Circles panel. This die was also used to cut black sheet foam to give dimension to the panel and to the circles that would go on the other card. The distress pieces will be mounted on black cardstock bases. For the card with the 3 circles, I'm creating an easy background using candy corn stickers by EK Success. These are super cute. I don't want to waste any of them, so I'm using my panel to position my circles using some temporary glue dots so that I can place the stickers around them. This is a super fast and easy way to create a background, and who doesn't associate candy corn with Halloween? The circles are then mounted on the black foam die cuts. Again, I'm going to be using that main panel so that I can make sure that those circles are well aligned on the panel and perfectly spaced. After everything is glued down and I'm removing the panel, I do make sure to hang on to those circles so that they don't slip out of alignment. For the second card, the panel is mounted on foam and then adhered to the black cardstock. The foam did stretch a little bit and I had to trim off the excess. All of the images that I would be using for both cards was stamped on Neenah Classic Crest 110-pound cardstock using Memento ink. Everything is going to be Copic colored, and Memento is a Copic-friendly ink. All of the images are colored very simply, and although there seems like there's a lot of them, it really didn't take that long at all. The color scheme was also kept very simple, and I only had to work with 9 markers. I began by coloring all of the pumpkins and a section of the candy corn. I used YR09, 07, and 02. Green was used for some of the accents and the pumpkin stem and leaves. I used G14 and 17. Y18, a nice bright yellow, was used to finish up the candy corn, color in the carved pumpkin eyes, and to do some of the accessories. I used E43 to color in the cupcake wrappers and to do up the cookies. To create some dimension on the mummy wrapping on the pumpkin and also the ghosts, I'm going to be putting in some shadows using warm gray, W4, and W0. There's not a lot of coloring that is done. I just simply add in the W4 where I think the shadows will be, and then use the W0 to blend it out. It seems to add just enough to take away from that flat appearance. After all of my Copic coloring was done, I then did some fussy cutting. I cut everything right on the line. Yep, there was a lot of fussy cutting. Thankfully, the outline of the images was not intricate and they were easy to trim. Because the die cut panel was mounted on foam, I didn't add any more dimension to the images. All of the pumpkins would be sitting in the recessed area, and the ghost sitting on top, and so that was enough dimension. Cute little ghost at the top of the card was not lying flat, and so I grabbed whatever was handy, which happened to be my glue dot dispenser, to set on top of it. Just a little explanation in case you're wondering why it's there. So now on to the second card. Even though the circles are foam mounted, I didn't want all of the elements that would be sitting on top of them to be flat. As I worked through each of the scenes, I made a decision about which of the elements are going to be lying flat, and I glued those directly on the circle. For the one that I'm working on now, I decided that I was going to give some dimension to the ghost. I just roughly figured out how much of the ghost would be sitting directly on the circle, and foam squares were put in that area. For the second little vignette, the ghost is adhered directly to the circle, and the little mummified pumpkin is going to be popped up. And for the final scene, the ghost will be popped up. So now on with my favorite part, the embellishing. I begin by adding in some tiny star confetti in the black circle backgrounds. After I place a few dots of glue, I follow up with my jewel picker to place these itty-bitty stars. This might have been a bit tedious, but I like the effect, so it was worth it. I'm going to be going on to Nouveau drops, so before I do that, I am going to attach my panels to their card bases. The card bases measure 8 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Dark iridescent sequins are added to the backgrounds on both of the cards. As is typical for me, I'm going to finish them off with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew. I'm also adding them to the ghosts and pumpkins' eyes just to help them stand out a little bit more. I only have room on my cards for sentiment strips. The sentiments that are included in Boudet are wonderfully big, but too big for these cards. I borrow a couple of sentiments from Simon Says Stamps, Creepy Cute. I have a little bit of the distress stain background left over, just enough room for these two sentiment strips. They are first stamped with black VersaFine ink and then embossed with a beautiful glitter embossing powder by Nouveau called Shimmering Pearl. The sentiments are adhered to foam and then attached to each of the cards. These cards are finished up with Nouveau Glitter Drops, White Blizzard on some of the accessory pieces. And that wraps up this pair of cards featuring Simon Says Stamps Boudet. In card making, I think making scenes is one of my greatest challenges. Working in small vignettes certainly makes it a lot easier. I hope you enjoyed these two slimline Halloween cards with all these super cute images. As always, I appreciate your visit.